And I now look to Mary Honeyball MEP, Somerville College, to continue the case for the opposition.
Religion is a belief, it's a faith, it's nothing more and it's nothing less. It's a faith certainly sincerely held and very deeply held by many, many people, and I know by many people in this house. But in actual fact, only about half the people throughout the United Kingdom have a religious faith of any sort at all. In 2014, the number of people in England and Wales who identified as having no religion was 46%, according to the British Social Attitudes Survey, while 52% of those in Scotland said the same thing 2 years later. It is, of course, indisputable and essential that all of us, everyone in this room and outside, is tolerant of and respects religious views. And although I believe religion is a faith, I would always, and I know all of us would, respect people's religious faith. But there is a provision here. You can only respect people's religious faith as long as those people and those institutions abide by the laws of the land, do no harm, do not commit criminal offences, and are upstanding, law-abiding citizens. And we have to make that distinction. We have a legal system in this country and throughout Europe. We have acceptable ways of behaviour. There are things we believe as a society, and religion can never, never be above those. And I would like to quote at this point from the European Convention of Human Rights, which, as I'm sure you all know, was concluded after the Second World War, at a time when such a convention was very badly needed. And one of the things that it deals with is religious freedom. And I would like to quote to you what it says. Freedom to manifest one's religion or beliefs shall be subject only to such limitations as are prescribed by law and are necessary in a democratic society in the interests of public safety, for the protection of public order, health or morals, or for the protection of the rights and freedoms of others. I believe that the European Convention on Human Rights should remain our benchmark. What we're talking about in this proposition when we talk about human rights and civil liberties. And we need to talk about this now. History is important, and I in fact did history at Somerville, but we're talking about now. So I don't think that examples from the past are necessarily helpful, and they're certainly not necessarily helpful 70 years on from the kind of atrocities that actually the last speaker was talking about. There are, of course, other rights enshrined in the European Convention, and they're important too, and I just want to highlight a few because we're talking about the whole spectrum here and not just religion. Amongst other things, the European Convention on Human Rights talks to the right of a fair trial. It talks about the right to privacy and family life, the right to freedom of expression, and no punishment without due legal process. All of the rights enshrined in the European Convention are equal. No one right is more important than another, and therefore religion cannot supersede civil liberties. That is where we have got to in our thinking and the way that we deal with these throughout Europe. And another important thing in this context is that the European Convention on Human Rights very clearly demonstrates that humanity is moral in itself. We, as human beings, as people, do not require religion to give us our moral compass. That is absolutely fundamental to this debate. We are moral beings. I would like to pick out now and discuss one particular article in the European Convention on Human Rights. And that is the Article 14, which states that there should be freedom from discrimination. And it says, and I will quote again, "The enjoyment of the rights and freedoms set forth in this convention shall be secured without discrimination on any ground, such as sex, race, colour, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, association with a national minority, property, birth, or other status." This is a secular and humanist statement agreed across Europe and agreed by democratically elected governments. And I believe, and I'm sure you all believe, that democratically elected governments, governments which have been chosen by the people, cannot be superseded by religion, particularly in the context of a society which overall is not religious. However, sadly and unfortunately, this is not always the case. And it's not always the case, most strikingly, in relation to women, and specifically I want to talk about abortion. Abortion in certain circumstances is legal across the European Union at almost all EU member states at the moment. But despite this, in 2012, in the Republic of Ireland, a young woman called Savita Halapanawa died. She died in hospital because she was denied an abortion. And she was reportedly told while she was in hospital that this is a Catholic country. And we are now seeing Donald Trump, who was featured before in this discussion, we're seeing him cement his bizarre alliance with evangelical Christians in the United States by seeming to support the deletion of Roe versus Wade from the United States body of law. That's the judgment which upholds abortion. These examples, just a few, there are many, many others, which demonstrate what may happen when countries go against universally accepted concepts of freedom from discrimination in the name of religion. And refusing an abortion is discrimination against women. Religious dogma should never be more important than the law of the land and what are universally accepted human rights and civil liberties. We do not have the right or the freedom to discriminate. And when such a thing does happen, as we saw in the case of the poor young woman who died, the consequences can be grave and serious. And there are other things which are carried out against women in the name of religion. Honour killings, because a woman has refused to marry a certain man. Suti, where women commit suicide when their husbands die. I believe that wearing the niqab or the burqa, where a woman covers her face and most of her, is very oppressive to women and does not allow communication. Religious thought and non-harmful expressions should, of course, be respected. However, many religions, probably most religions, do oppress women. And we should never ever allow religious practices to be subordinate to the laws of the land. The laws of the land is what we're talking about, and we're talking about fundamental rights and responsibilities and freedoms. And the same view, I believe, applies to governments and the way that governments operate. And it actually links into the whole question of conscientious objection. I actually take the view that if a government wishes to update laws on abortion, if there is a member of that government who does not agree with abortion for whatever reasons, probably for religious reasons, they should resign from the government. That is the way round it should be done. And if we do it any other way round, we are allowing freedom to discriminate with all the consequences that that brings. So for all these reasons, I ask you to be on our side, to support the opposition, to defeat this motion, because this motion is backward-looking, discriminatory, and will not take us forward, will not allow us progressive evolution of the kind we have had for the past 60-odd years.